Okay, if you have ever worked on a global team, you know this pain. You have to schedule one single meeting, but your team is scattered all across the planet. And what starts out as a simple task, well, it just explodes into this logistical nightmare. Today, we're going to look at a brilliantly simple solution that cuts right through all that chaos.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there, right? That calendar invite pops up for 11 p.m. and your heart just sinks. You're exhausted, but you gotta do it. The project has to move forward. Look, this isn't just an inconvenience, it's this universal point of friction in our crazy connected world. And it's the exact problem we're gonna see get solved today. And this slide, this is it. This says it all. The expectation is so simple. Just a quick calendar invite. Done. But the reality? Oh man, it's this chaotic mess of back and forth emails, frantically Googling time zone calculators, and trying to do mental gymnastics. You're exhausted before the meeting even begins.
So let's dive into this. Part 1, the global scheduling nightmare. Let's really get into what makes this so ridiculously difficult. That is the perfect way to describe it. Trying to coordinate between, say, Mumbai, London, and New York feels less like scheduling and more like some high-stakes logic puzzle. You're constantly asking, okay, if it's 9 a.m. for them, what time is that for me? Wait, did daylight saving already happen there? It is a puzzle that nobody, absolutely nobody, wants to solve.
But what if the goal wasn't to get better at solving the puzzle? What if you could just see the answer? And that brings us to our next section, a simple visual answer. And this right here is such a critical point. The first instinct is almost always to add more stuff, more integrations, more settings, more buttons. But the creators of this thing realized that just adding more features to an already confusing problem, well, it just makes everything worse.
And there it is, the big breakthrough. They took a really annoying math problem and turned it into a simple visual one. Instead of having to calculate and juggle numbers in your head, you just have to look. The entire solution was to create a picture that gives you the answer instantly. And this is it, the Meeting Time Finder. Its purpose is laser-focused. See, it's a micro tool. It doesn't try to manage your entire life. Nope. It's designed to do one single thing perfectly. Show you everyone's working hours so you can immediately see that sweet spot to meet.
Okay, now check this out. This is how brilliantly simple it is. You've got Alice in New York, her working hours are in teal. You've got Bob in London, his are too. But the magic? The magic happens where they overlap. You see that bright orange section? That's not just data. That's your answer. That's your meeting window. Boom, no math required. Now, this level of simplicity doesn't just happen by accident. No way. It's the result of some really smart, deliberate choices, which brings us to our next section, design with intention.
And this was their North Star. This was the rule for every single decision they made. Every time they had a choice, they'd ask themselves, does this make things visually clearer or is it just adding another feature? And if the answer wasn't clarity, it got cut. Period. Even the color palette here is doing some serious heavy lifting. The deep blue background, it's calm, it gets out of the way. Teal just represents an individual's availability. It's just information. But that orange practically screams, hey, book this time. Right here. The colors are what make the whole thing so intuitive at a single glance.
And this all leads to an even bigger, more powerful idea, which we're going to dig into next. The power of less. Because sometimes the most important design decision you can make is about what you choose not to build.
Just take a look at this list of things they threw out. Calendar sync, user accounts, email integration. I mean, these are all features you would totally expect in a scheduling tool, but they were all ruthlessly rejected. And why? Because every single one would add another layer of complexity, another moment of friction that would just get in the way of the tool's one perfect job.
So what actually made the cut? Well, only the absolute essentials that directly served the mission. A searchable time zone list, so you're not scrolling for ages. A one-click copy button, so you can paste the perfect time right into an email. A simple hour toggle. Everything is about speed and clarity.
And it all comes down to this. The Meeting Time Finder works so well because it has exactly one job. It doesn't try to be your calendar. It doesn't try to be your email client. Its entire reason for being is to answer one question and answer it as fast as humanly possible.
This brings us to the really big takeaway. Because this isn't just about a clever little tool. It's a masterclass in a better way to solve problems. So let's look at the big lessons here.
So, what can we take away from all this? First, a clear visual is way more powerful than a bunch of features. That little orange highlight is more valuable than a dozen new buttons. Second, simplify the problem itself. Don't just keep adding stuff to your tool. And finally, remember this. A micro tool that does one job perfectly will almost always beat a bloated one that does 10 things poorly. And this right here, this is the ultimate transformation. We go from that tangled mess of confusion and email chains to a simple, clear answer. It takes a decision that used to take days and shrinks it down to a few seconds. That's the real power of this approach. So I'll leave you with this question. Think about the most complex, frustrating problem you're dealing with right now, at work, in your life, whatever. What would it look like to stop adding more things to it and instead apply this art of radical simplicity? Where could a single, clear picture solve your biggest headache?